First we will see that physical properties of oxygen. First property, oxygen gas is colorless, odorless and tasteless. Second one, oxygen gas is non-poisonous and it is supporting for the burning. And that's why it's support for the life also, as the respiration process is going on with the help of this oxygen. Oxygen is heavier than air and this oxygen gas is slightly soluble in water. This oxygen gas which is slightly soluble in water, that is dissolved oxygen. That oxygen, dissolved oxygen gas is used by the aquatic plants and animals for the respiration process. And this oxygen gas is liquefied into bluish liquid at minus 183 degrees Celsius by applying the high pressure. So students, you know that about the liquefaction process. The gaseous state is get converted into the liquid state by applying the pressure. That process we called as a liquefaction. The next one is the chemical properties of oxygen. Oxygen is chemically an active gaseous element. It supports burning. Therefore, it reacts with metals, non-metals and a number of compounds, and they are producing the new product that containing with them, along with them, oxygen also, which this new compound is formed, that is called as a oxides, and the process forming the oxides it is called as a oxidation. And students, there are two types of oxidation process. The first one is the slow oxidation and second one is the fast oxidation. In slow oxidation, for example, rusting, respiration, and in fast oxidation, the burning process is there. So first one we will see that about the fast oxidation, the burning process. When a substance is combined with oxygen, that with release of heat and light energy, and this process is called as a burning process. Second one is the slow oxidation. When a substance combines with oxygen slowly over a period of time with the release of very less amount of heat energy, and light energy is not released in the slow oxidation. So this is called as a slow oxidation. So now students, we will see about the burning of elements in oxygen. For a substance to burn, it needs to be heated. To attain a minimum temperature, it is known as the ignition temperature. And at this temperature, the substance combines chemically with the oxygen and it produces the respective oxides. Now, with the help of this table, students, I will explain to you how the non-metals react with oxygen and they are forming their oxides. The first example of this non-metal, carbon. Carbon reacts with oxygen forming carbon dioxide and heat energy. And observation is that carbon burns with bright sparks forming carbon dioxide. Second one is sulfur. Sulfur reacts with oxygen by heating. Sulfur reacts with oxygen by heating, forming sulfur dioxide and heat energy. Observation is sulfur burns with a bright bluish flame. And the third one is the phosphorus reacts with oxygen by heating, forming phosphorus pentoxide and heat energy is released. Phosphorus burns with a dazzling flame. Observation is that phosphorus burns with a dazzling flame, producing dense white fumes of phosphorus pentoxide. The next chemical reaction about the burning of hydrogen in oxygen. Hydrogen burns in oxygen at very high temperature to produce water, and it is neutral oxide. The next one, action with metals. Metals also react with oxygen to give their respective oxides, which are basic in nature. They are soluble basic oxides, change the color of red litmus into blue. Now students, like that non-metals, that metals also showing one table about the reaction with oxygen. The first metal is sodium. Sodium react with oxygen forming sodium oxide and heat energy. Observation is that it burns brightly with a brilliant yellow flame. Calcium reacts with oxygen forming calcium oxide and heat. That observation is it burns with a bright brick red flame forming a white solid. Magnesium react with oxygen forming magnesium oxide and heat. Observation, it burns with a bright dazzling light forming the white powder of magnesium oxide. Fourth one is iron. Iron react with oxygen forming triferric tetraoxide and heat energy. And the observation is that red hot ions burn with a bright spark forming an oxide of iron. And now students, burning of candle in oxygen. Candle burns in oxygen to produce carbon dioxide, water and energy. And this energy is in the form of heat energy and light energy. So students, these are all about the actions of metals, non-metals with the help and compounds with the help of that oxygen. Oxygen reacts with metals and non-metals and some compounds forming its respective oxides. Now the next one is the rusting process. Rusting is a slow oxidation process in which iron slowly reacts with oxygen of the air in the presence of moisture and produce a flaky brown substance. That brown substance is called as a rust. And the chemical name of the rust is that hydrated ferric oxide. And the conditions necessary for the rusting, there are two conditions are very necessary students for this rusting process. The first one is the air, because air containing oxygen, and second one is the moisture. If any one condition is not there, rusting process will not complete. That's why to completing the rusting process, air and moisture is important. Now the next one is that prevention of this rusting. Yes, it is very important, because students, when these ions getting the rusting process, that it decreases its economical value. So that is why we have to prevent from this rusting. So for this prevention, that iron is one of the most useful metal to mankind, and it is used for making heavy machines, bridges, vehicles, railway equipments, utensils, etc. But iron gets rusted easily in the presence of air and moisture. And if rust is allowed to form unchecked, the iron gets corroded, so resulting in wastage of metals. So thus the prevention of rusting of iron is essential. Students, that's why this iron can be protected from rusting if the surface of the iron is not allowed to come in contact with air and moisture, then it will be prevented. So what steps we have to do for that? So one by one we will learn about that. This is done by painting, greasing or metallic coating like galvanization. Now students, the next topic about the oxygen is the test for oxygen. Oxygen requires a glowing splinter indicating the support for the burning process. The second test for oxygen is that when colorless oxygen is brought into the contact with colorless nitric oxide, a brown colored gas, nitrogen dioxide, is formed. And the third test for oxygen, alkaline pyrogallol solution turns brown when oxygen is passed through it. Now students, next topic of the oxygen about the uses of this oxygen. You have already learned oxygen is support for burning. With the help of this oxygen, respiration process is going on. Without oxygen we can't live. So the first use of oxygen is that all living beings, all plants, animals and human beings are using this oxygen for the respiration process. And oxygen is support for burning process also. Oxygen is a life supporting gas. There is no living thing known to us that can survive without oxygen. It burns our food to produce energy, and this process is called as a respiration. And second one is burning. Oxygen is necessary for burning of fuels to produce energy in the form of heat energy and light energy. The next use of oxygen in medicines. Oxygen cylinders are provided for patients suffering from breathing problems so as to facilitate the artificial respiration. Oxygen is a major constituent of carbogen. So that is given to the patient to stimulate natural breathing. Students, this carbogen contains 95% oxygen and 5% carbon dioxide gas. A mixture of oxygen and nitrous oxide is used in dentistry as local anesthesia. It is used as the local anesthesia. And the fourth use of oxygen is in the industrial use. When oxygen and hydrogen is heated with each other, it forming in industrial uses for welding and cutting of the metals, oxygen is used. Oxygen mixed with hydrogen as a fuel produces a flame with a very high temperature, about 2800 degrees Celsius. And this is known as oxyhydrogen flame. Second one, with acetylene, oxygen produces a flame with an even higher temperature, about 3300 degrees Celsius, and it is known as oxyacetylene flame. Such high temperatures are required for cutting and welding of the metals. Second use of oxygen is for removing impurities. It is used to remove impurities from the substances that are used as a raw materials in the steel industries. It is used in chemical industries. Pure oxygen is used as oxidizing agent in the manufacture of nitric acid from ammonia and of sulfuric acid from sulfur dioxide. It is used as a propellant fuel in spacecraft. Liquid oxygen is carried by rockets that burn liquid hydrogen as fuel to propel the rocket at high speed. So students, here we completed about the uses of oxygen in different ways. We have known that about the oxygen is used in burning and respiration. Regarding that also some uses of oxygen is there. Now students, the next topic about this, there is a renewal of oxygen in air, how it is going on, and that is we called as a oxygen cycle. You know that all living beings use this atmospheric oxygen for the breathing, and it also used in burning of fuels and in the formation of oxides of nitrogen. If the amount of oxygen in the air remains more or less constant. And dear students, this is only due to the green plants returns this oxygen to the atmosphere by the process of, you know that the name of the process, photosynthesis. And this circulation of the oxygen is called as a oxygen cycles. It is continuously going on. Photosynthesis, you know that students about. Photosynthesis is the process by which carbon dioxide and water are used up by green plants in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to produce glucose and oxygen gas. And this oxygen is released into the atmosphere, but carbon dioxide is used up. Thus, the respective proportion of these two gases are naturally balanced. Let's take some questions for this video.